Oh, welcome back. Good to have you tuned in with us here on the Market Day Report. Let's find out what's going on with this grain market. And the wheat market really headed quite a bit higher, almost double-digit higher when we checked a little bit ago. We start with December Chicago. Wheat is up 9 3/4 at 435 3/4. July wheat up 8 1/4, 480 3/4. We go to Kansas City, and it's December. Kansas City wheat was up 9 just a little bit ago. Now we're up 10 at 432 3/4. July up 9 3/4 at 482 1/2. Go to the Minneapolis wheat market, and December is up 4 1/4, 615 1/2. July wheat up 2 1/4 at 636 1/4. Let's back up now and check what's going on with this corn market, because corn market has been showing some solid positive action here today. December corn up 6 1/2 at 351, now above that 350 mark, and that is setting a new high. July corn is up 6 at 380 3/4. Go to the soybean market here, and nearby November soybeans up 2 3/4, 981 1/2. May soybeans up 2 1/4 at 1010 3/4. And part of the reason we're taking this market higher today is because of those export inspections that was out this morning. We look at those numbers here, and we find that corn came in with export inspections at 614,075 metric ton. Now, last week we were at 330,456 metric ton. You look at the wheat market, and the reason I mention this next is because that wheat market was posting some big gains today. 169,750. Now that is much lower than last week's 324,525. But nonetheless, there was just a lot of buying interest in the wheat market today, and that's really starting to show up. We look at the soybean export inspections, 2.56 million metric ton, and that is much above the 1.79 million metric ton of last week. Sorghum came in at 74,288 as opposed to last week's 1,534. So those were the export inspection numbers that we had this morning. Keep in mind also that this week, this Friday, November soybean options are going to expire on Friday, and that could be a little bit of an influence to this market this week. The November expiration usually always does get a lot of attention because it's that new crop contract, and so we could continue to see a little bit of fireworks, but we certainly are breaking out of the range-bound trade activity that we had for the corn market and the wheat market. While we're here on soybeans, we mentioned that November is up 2 3/4. Let's take a look at the products. We go to the soybean meal today, and this is a market that has been weaker a good part of the morning, trading right now at $316.70 a ton, and that is down 40 cents. We go check out what's going on with the soybean oil, and that's kind of what led things higher. Was a little bit of excitement over here in the soybean oil market. Right now, December up 40 at 34.56. January up 39 at 34.70. So soybean oil kind of also helping hold the soybean meal market together here today as well. Let's find out what's going on with crude oil market here today while we're on the topic of oil. December crude oil up 17 at 52.01 a barrel. January crude oil up 15 cents at 52.19. Checking in the heating oil market, and this is a market that was pretty quiet earlier, now just down a penny on the nearby November contract at $1.79 1/2 a gallon. December heating oil is also down almost a penny at $1.79 as well. You go all the way down through the rest of the contracts, January, February, and March, they are all lower. Now let's look at what's going on with the dollar right now at midday. Earlier we were higher by about 200 points. Now we're up 150 points at 93.72. March is up 140 at 93.430. When we come back, we'll find out what's going on with the livestock trade. A little bit of a reversal here as well. Stay tuned. That's straight ahead. Here on the Market Day Report, let's go to the edge of the trading floor at the CME Group in Chicago and talk to Scott Gecas here with us to get an update on this livestock market. Scott is with Longleaf Trading. All right, Scott, the cattle market, I've heard several people use the word pretty resilient already this morning.
Yeah, with the cattle market, I mean, it's weird because, Friday's report came in a little bearish. It was on the higher end of the expected range. It came in about 113.5%, above expected. But, the slaughter still is coming in a little bit higher. Traders are net long, even though that the supply outlook is bearish. So it's kind of in a wait and see period to see which way it's really going to move.
Well, at midday here, we already had the beef cutouts, and they were out. They show basically mixed. We just come within striking distance there of that $200 mark on the choice. 199.32. That was down 54 cents. The select's up 71 at 191.85. So we narrowed that choice select spread there just a little bit. But you spoke to that optimism there about what's going on as far as the charts go. But as you also mentioned, we've still got a lot of supply. Right. Some of this some of this, I guess I should ask, depend on what happens with the economy and whether or not the consumer continues to buy into this, buy all the beef you can?
Well, yeah, especially coming into, at the end of the year, coming into the holidays, we should see, demand still stay relatively supportive of, the prices. But, with the fundamentals still coming in a little bit negative, I mean, either way, the traders are still net long. They're expecting a little bit higher move.
Sure. Let's look at the pork market here today, and we take a look at the lean hogs here and get everybody up to date on these numbers here. It's December lean hogs down 80 at 64.05. February down 32 at 68.78. And if we check out what happened here at midday with the cutouts, they were all mostly lower with the exception of the belly market. Carcasses, the loins, the hams, all down, albeit not a whole lot. The carcasses down 19. Loins down 25, hams down 3, but the belly market up 39. So this tells us that maybe have we already done our preparing for the holiday ham period, or you think that's still down the road?
Well, I mean, I think we're hitting to that point. I mean, there still is a slowdown in the slaughter rate, so the short-term trend is turning a little bit more positive. Traders are still net long and they continue to add contracts. So that does support a little bit higher prices as well.
All right. Dollar here was trending just a little bit higher. It's it just kind of softened a little bit over the last hour or so. Now we're only up about 110 points, 93.69. Earlier we were higher than this.
Yeah, the dollar still, with the higher dollar, import and export prices tend to fluctuate a little bit more based on that dollar move. So, I mean, that's going to definitely have an effect on, the market in pretty much every commodity.
Sure. Are we still in one of these modes here that it's lightly traded both on the grain side and the livestock side? Is it still pretty quiet, or are we starting to see more interest come back to the commodities?
Well, you're starting to see a little bit more interest, but it's selective. So it's just not across the board. You're seeing a little bit more open interest, especially in the wheat market, especially with the big rally that we're seeing now. So, we'll see if we can get a close above, I would say, about 436, 437, you're going to continue to see that move higher.
So what's generating the interest back into commodities? Is it fear that maybe the stock market could be topping out?
Well, everyone's got that fear with the stock market, especially with it topping out. They've been calling for a correction for the last 3 years or so. If anyone knew exactly when that was going to happen, no one would be in that spot. So everyone's still waiting to wait and see. I think a lot of the fundamentals with the stock market, with the tax reform and so forth, that's going to be a wait and see period. So we'll see how it plays out towards the end of this year.
Sure. Well, Longleaf Trading here with us, Scott Gecas. Scott, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much. And as we take off here, let's real quickly check out what's going on with the live cattle and the feeder cattle numbers as we have those. And these are live from the trade. October live cattle now up 24, 111.92. December live cattle up 38 at 116.98. The February fats are up 20 at 121.48. October feeder cattle down 12 at 153.50. November feeders down 63 at 152.45. So basically, a lot of folks all agree the cattle market very resilient this time around after this cattle on feed report.
And you've talked to a couple of the analysts, and they keep mentioning the holiday season coming up on that kind of demand. I'm not ready to think of that myself, but it is a factor right now in October.
It is. We're going to roll the calendar to November here pretty quick.
All right. Thank you very much, John, for that reminder.